Alright, I watched a lot of different videos on this subject to pull this case apart, and one of the things I discovered was that most of those videos were just either wrong or lying or who knows what. So you've got one small capture, whoops, let me grab that little devil here. One small capture screw, it's one of those little safety jobs, so you'll need one of the specialty screwdrivers to undo that. And then people showed themselves just working a screwdriver in here and prying it open, which was extremely difficult. So I got a driver in here and finally managed to push up against this ridge a little bit, but couldn't get that to pop open at all. So I started working on this side, and I got this side to pop open a little bit, and then it was stressing here, and it looked like little clips here, so I thought I was doing okay. And then the more I pushed, I noticed a hairline fracture being created right there. So what I ended up doing is working back on this side again, and I finally got it to push up more, and then it released, and then I finally got the thing to open. So you'll notice right here, there's a little tiny piece of plastic that's fractured, and that goes into an opposing boss on the opposite side. That is glued in, so you wouldn't be able to get that apart. There are no clips on the inside of this case to hold this together. And one of the other things I noticed too is that this here has a glue ridge around the edge of it. And you look on this side, and this is glued shut. There were also traces of glue along the edge of this. The adhesives that were on there were factory. This has never been pulled apart before. This was a brand new device straight from the factory. So essentially this is designed to never be taken apart. And the reason I did have to take it apart is because this particular unit got dropped. Though there's no marks or anything on it, it has a mechanical setup on the inside. Let me pull the board out here for you. So it doesn't look like anything on the surface until you shook it in the case, and you could hear this going. So the problem that you have is you've got this overweight device that's basically just suspended by the solder traces, which is really not a fantastic design. They should have hot glued it or done something else. I mean, pretty much anything else. I've seen this failure in more devices than I care to count, like the Anchor PA systems, all sorts of amps and things, anything basically that uses these transistors. It's not a good design. Either mount them flush, which they usually can't do if they're wave soldering, I guess, or use a bracket to go around the outside of it. You know, like I've seen some of them with the plastic housings, so it's designed to go right around it, or something to bolt it to. I mean, that's why you've got that hole. That's designed to be bolted to a heatsink to dissipate heat. So why they don't do that on these, I really couldn't tell you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and fix that by resoldering these traces. This one trace is snapped clean off the board, and it took it completely off. These other two might not be bad, except for this one here is right next to a surface mount device. So that surface mount device, that little tiny thing right there, if you overheat that, that's a resistor, and that'll be gone. As well as that little guy up there. So you got to be real careful when you're soldering these things. Plus I got to scrape this stuff off the top of this board, because everything that you see that's green, you can't solder to. So I'll have to clean that down to the copper first and deal with that. But yeah, shame on any electrical engineer that's designing circuits without any form of bracing. This is ridiculous. This should absolutely not happen. I mean, granted, you shouldn't be dropping those things on the floor, but it happens. Things take a dive. And it wasn't a hard enough drop to put any marks on the case. So, like, I could see if it fell to a concrete floor from 10 feet in the air, but that's clearly not the case with this thing. This is just bad manufacturing. So yeah, if you got one of these, treat it with kid gloves. So I'm going to start off with this by just kind of scraping forward. I don't want to scrape backwards, because if I scrape backwards, the level will pull the remaining trace. So like, you don't have to get it all off there, but it's good to give it a nice running start, because I'm just using regular little those micro screwdrivers. It's good to get that cleaned off as much as you can, because while the flux core will burn through some of this stuff, it's not going to burn through everything. So you just want to try and clean it up as much as you can, because I'm going to have to bridge the solder from here to here, so this is going to be a big ugly. And I also need to do the same thing on the other side, because this one, the trace goes in this direction. You got a nice solder blob there, but it's not going to probably do me any good. So once I get this cleaned up, I'll give her a shot of soldering. Tin up my iron a little bit, and then I will give that a shot. Just doing one at a time here. I took the entire trace away, so that's not super handy. Let me see if I can get that back on there again. Alright, gonna have to have a new plan, because the trace came right up and off. So let me grab my little screwdriver again. And what we're gonna try to do is I'm gonna try and fold that leg over far enough to reach. So I can bend that down enough to reach that trace. And we'll see if that'll work. It's always a danger to have something like that come right off the board on you because it's been badly damaged. And it looks like that may have worked. Now we'll see if I can get the one. I should also tell you that I'm not planning on putting this back into service after something's been this badly damaged. Usually I'll just use this as a backup charger, so I have a way to charge extra batteries that may come back that might be dead. I would never put something like this back into service just because it would not be reliable enough to mess with. Wish my hand wasn't shaking so bad. Alright, so that one looks okay. Like I said, I don't want to heat this one up a whole lot, because if you heat that up too much, what ends up happening is you're going to bridge things that you don't need to bridge. Okay, so I got this back into the case. And I'm gonna put the cover over this and see what it'll do. Let's see here. I'm gonna grab a power cord here. Alright, as this case is wide open, it should be fairly safe, and now I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in, so if it explodes, we'll both get to watch it at the same time. Alright. No exploding, no smoke. Disconnect it again. Making sure, of course, that is the exact one. And then I'm going to try and put this cover back on. Got to go through a slice on that board, which is bizarre. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. Actually went in considerably easier than I thought it would. This rotates with a little locking device. And I'm going to put one screw in. Well, that's the only screw it's got. So I'm going to put that screw in just to hold it together. because I don't want to be holding this when I have the battery in there. Alright, so I'll plug this back in, and grab a battery that I've got, throw a battery in there, and let me plug it in. And it is charging. So I will give that a little while, see if it completes the charge, because that battery is pretty close to being charged anyways. So what it should do is it should go steady, and if that thing goes steady, I will get some glue the bottom of that case back together, and then that will go on the shelf as my backup for internal charging. Alright, and I'm back 10 minutes later, and it has finished charging. No incredible heat, no failures. So I'm going to consider this repaired, and then this one's going to go back up on the shelf for, I've got a little charging station set up, and then I'll take another one and I'll put the other one back into service with the actual camera. But yeah, that is a really poor design. Thanks, Nikon, for making me work.